Just waiting. I'm just waiting for this thing to like just go bust. Just go bust, whatever it's gonna do, it's gonna do. But let me just take a look on my page to see what's going on here, see what's happening. And I want everybody to come on in and take a seat because, I've been telling y'all that I was going to do this and that I was going to give us a whole and complete and total breakdown of Project 25. And I have been doing some studying for quite a while on this Project 2025 thing. I have been doing a lot of studying and reading and research. And I'm going to break it down for you chapter by chapter. And today we're going to go into chapter one, and I am not going to be long. Like I was the other day, I told y'all I wasn't going to be long, but I am going to break this thing down. And let me see, where am I? 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 Just showing that I'm here. And let's see what's going on. Let's see what's happening. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? All right. Oh, there we go. 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 Let's do it. All right. Very good. So this is where I wanted to be. Now, yesterday, I gave y'all a breakdown on Pam Bondi. We talked about Attorney General Pam Bondi and how, in my opinion, she is one of the most evil, corrupt women in the United States and possibly the world. But today we are diving into something that I think deserves attention. It deserves attention. It deserves a lot of attention. Where is the country headed? Where are we headed right now? What's happening? Where are we headed, and what are we doing? And so let's, one of the things that I do want to make mention of and talk about, like right now, today, and on the rule of law, is, let's see here, that was, okay. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Facebook. Facebook is tripping, like tripping out on me really bad. And I don't understand why. But, let's see, I can't find. What is happening here? What is happening? What is going on? What is going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. Do, 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 do. Or maybe it's gonna come on after I finish. I guess they got these new rules and regulations that they do. So, but anyway, let me move through this. I'm going to move through this as quickly as I possibly can because I want to just basically just give everyone my opinion and what I've read, and not only my opinion, but an amplified breakdown of Project 25. We're going to go through all 920 pages of this conservative blueprint that has been used or is being used for the reshaping of the federal government of the United States. And today, again, it is all about chapter one. And chapter one specifically relates to taking the reins of the government. So don't let the dry title fool you. This chapter is not just an introduction, but it's a declaration of war, and it's the operational battle plan. It is, again, a declaration of war, and it is the operational battle plan for Project 2025. It's all rolled into one, and this is where they lay bare their why and their how. So I want you all to strap in and listen very closely to what I'm about to say because not enough coverage is being given on Project 2025 and the things that we are seeing that are taking place in the United States right now are a direct result of what is going on in the United States, all because of Project 2025. So think about this. What if the biggest obstacle to a president's agenda, it isn't the opposing party in Congress, right? But it's the very people working inside his own administration. What if that was his biggest opposition? That's the fundamental premise of chapter one. They argue in chapter one that the American government is broken. And I might, in some places, agree, but not wholly and totally. They feel that it's not just bipartisan gridlock, but by a permanent, unelected bureaucracy, what they call the administrative state. So if you notice, Trump and his cronies put out a whole lot of information, and they use a whole lot of trigger words to make people, oh yeah, that's this, that's that, that's the cabal, that's the Jewish space lasers, that's this, that's that. These people are all crazy. They're all cooking. They're sending us straight to hell. All right, these are the things that get these people all triggered and fired up and wired up. Right. So they call it the administrative state or the deep state. And what they're stating is this is actively a resistance that undermines and sabotages conservative presidents, right? So this isn't just about policy disagreements, because chapter one actually paints a picture of systemic resistance, according to the conservative writers of this manual, all 922 pages of it. And what they claim in their booklet, which is their battle plan, that career bureaucrats, the folks who stay through administrations, regardless of the president, protected by civil service rules, engage in tactics. What are the tactics that they say they engage in? They say that they intentionally slow walk, they drag their feet on implementing policies that they dislike. They also state that they have regulatory weaponization. What they do is they write dense, complex rules that effectively create new laws Congress never passed and that stifles conservative priorities. These are the things that are written in the book, and these are the aims that they are taking. And what they also think are that because of the bureaucracy, there are strategic leaks that undermine the president. They feed damaging info to the media or hostile congressional committees. There's so much more, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on. Open defiance. They refuse to follow directives or finding loopholes to ignore the directives. Hold on. I'm telling you, it gets deeper. It goes deeper and it gets deeper. It goes deeper and deeper, deeper, deeper it goes. They feel like there are hiring biases. They are stacking agencies with like minded progressives that are perpetuating the resistance. Not only that, the president is considered in this manual the primary victim. That's the core narrative of what the book is. So here's the chapter's most provocative angle, and it's the central to their entire argument. This is the center, the base of their entire argument. It all hangs on this. The MAGA right and the Heritage Foundation and all these other people, they portray the president of the United States as the chief victim of this system. He is the chief victim, the head of the executive branch. Chapter one argues the modern presidency. Ladies and gentlemen, hear this. The modern presidency is trapped. Chapter one claims that the bureaucracy has become so powerful, so insulated, that even the president struggles to control his own branch of government. That is where the term the administrative state. They say that the administrative state acts like a shadow government. They are accountable to no one. They're pursuing their own agenda regardless of who the voters elect. That's nonpartisan, sounds like to me. The result, presidential promises go unfulfilled, conservative mandates get blocked, and voters feel betrayed. Yeah, voters feel betrayed whether you're a Democrat or whether you are a Republican or even an independent. There are some things that just cannot be done, and it takes time. However, chapter one goes even deeper because chapter one traces this problem back decades. And I know many of you don't know that, but they point fingers at certain things and times, right? Not only just certain things and times, but certain centuries. The first thing that they do is they point back to the Pendleton Act of 1883. Sorry, not 1983, but the Pendleton Act of 1883. And while this is well intentioned, the ending spoils the system. They argue, and if you go back and look at the Pendleton Act, you will understand what the Pendleton Act was and what it was set up for. They argue, the far right argues that it created a permanent class of bureaucrats, increasingly divorced from political accountability. They are not divorced from accountability. They are nonpartisan. Then they have the expansion of the New Deal and the Great Society. That's the massive growth of federal agencies and regulatory power. They speak about the rise of the fourth branch. What is the fourth branch? Someone might ask. Well, let me be a little bit specific about what they consider the fourth branch to be. What they consider the fourth branch are independent agencies like the FCC, the SEC, the EPA, and they see these agencies as operating outside of direct presidential control, as they should. As they should. Democratic administration. They accuse the Democratic administration of actively embedding progressive ideology into the permanent bureaucracy. I don't think that there is any administration that did not do that. But then they also blame weak Republican administration, stating that they are weak. They are criticizing the Republican, where you get the name Rhino, Republican in name only, right? Yeah, I tell you, he can come up with some phrases. Criticize them for failing to aggressively purge or rein in the bureaucracy when they did have power. There are rules and regulations that keep that thing from happening. They call this the managerial neglect. Now, it gets deeper, ladies and gentlemen. It gets deeper. I'm just giving you all the surface things, so I'm going to tell you what it does. So there is a cure in chapter one that they point to. There is a cure that they point to. It's called their position to save the presidency and implement conservative governance. You must completely overhaul the federal workforce. Ooh, there is an overhaul of the federal workforce. It's scary because so many people agree with that, but they don't even know what these people actually do. They're just going on rhetoric. They're going on rhetoric. They're going on voices. They're working in silos. They are getting these silos into these super chats where you have these people just spouting off at the mouth and spouting off conspiracy theories and this is that and that is this and all this kind of stuff. This is what they plan to do, and this is what is already being done. We are actually past chapter one already, but I'm giving you the background and the an in-depth review of chapter one so that you don't have to read it because I know that none of you are going to pick up the 920 pages. The majority of people are not going to do that, but some of us have a curiosity. I'm one. I have a curiosity about Project 25. So I deep dived into it and it took me a long time. Thank you, Roland Martin, and thank you, Joy Reid, for bringing these things to my attention. I really personally want to thank you all. Now, let's talk about the mantra in chapter one of Project 2025. Its personnel states that personnel is policy. It means that who sits in these government chairs matters more than what's on paper regarding policy. You need true loyalists at every level. That is their aim, especially in key managerial, advisory, and policy making roles. This is what they're doing, y'all. They are putting in people who will aggressively execute the president's agenda without question or resistance. So far, you have not seen anyone other than the Democrats, the independents, and judges push back, because no one in the MAGA controlled Republican arena is going to do that. Not even moderate Republicans are going to. These people are afraid that Trump has something on them, something on them. Now, here's the weapon. And I know you don't know about this. You got to read this chapter. There's a section in chapter 1 called Section F. It's called Schedule F. Actually, it's termed or deemed the nuclear option. This is where chapter 1 actually unveils the most potent weapon, and it's called Schedule F. So let me break this down, because this is very important and it's going to be very interesting. This is what it is. It is reviving and massively expanding the first administration, the first Trump era administration executive order, which was originally issued late in his first term. And then it was rescinded by President Biden. This order would create a new category for federal employees. So President Biden protected the federal employees, whether they were Republican, Democrat, or independent. He rescinded the order to protect them. Now, let me tell you who this targets, and you've already seen it in live action, because this is chapter 1. I don't know what necessarily the order they're going in, but I think they're in chapter 1, probably chapter 3 by now, but we'll find out. Because what I'm talking about now is already in play. You've seen all of the so-called the quick executive orders that have gone out all over the place. We've seen all those things happen, right? This is the usherance of all the issuance rather of all these executive orders going out, going out, going out. What it does is it strips these employees of their traditional civil service protections. And crucially, what it does is it makes them much easier to fire. It makes them easier to replace. And this is based on, again, political loyalty and policy agreement. They're cutting out those lengthy processes and appeals. It effectively turns these positions into political appointments, but it's on a massive, unprecedented scale. These things are happening at a pace that we've never seen before. All right. Why is Schedule F the absolute cornerstone of chapter 1? I'm going to tell you why. Because it's the tool that the writers and because let me just back up for a moment so that everybody understands. Trump never had a real plan. And he's a liar, but he never really had a real plan, because he knew that whatever the plan was, he was going to put people in place to roll out Project 25, right? And Project 25 is going to be his legacy. The plane from Qatar, whatever you want to call it, is going to be his legacy. It's going to be a legacy of corruption. It's going to be a legacy of destruction. It's going to be a legacy of thievery. It's going to be a legacy of bribery. It's going to be a legacy of making certain groups billionaires. It's going to be a legacy of making people poor. And I'm going to say to you right now, the nature of the job that I work, I'm already seeing some of the tariffs in place, and it's happening in the medical industry, in the pharmaceutical industry, even now as we speak. So anyway, what chapter 1, knowing why Schedule F is so important in chapter 1, because it's the tool that they believe that's essential to their core goal, and that's breaking the power of the permanent bureaucracy. They're going to remove the obstructionists. They're going to place them or replace them with vetted conservatives. And then suddenly the president's orders flow unimpeded. We've already seen that. Trump issued an executive order. Trump issued, I'm here. I'm going to do what President Trump said. Y'all know that's Margaret Taylor Greene. What does President Trump want us to do? What does President Trump say? What does President Trump say? Somebody take that banjo out of her mouth, please. Somebody. Anyway, these people are going to push his agenda, flow unimpeded. They argue, right, that it's the only way to ensure the will of the people as expressed in electing a conservative president. I want to submit to you that Elon Musk paid for the election. Elon Musk bought the election because Ms. Harris didn't lose by a lot. He bought and the next election is going to be ruled and governed by artificial intelligence. It's going to be based on algorithms. Those things are going to be pushed mightily and hard. Watch, and it's going to be so ugly, and everything is going to be even more divided and divisive as we go through under this president, who, in my opinion, is the worst leader in the world, in the history of the United States. He's worse than Jefferson Davis. And there are some others that were weak jellyback. But let's talk about this. The supporting strategies in chapter 1, which you all are seeing, and a lot of people are arguing in the conservative circles, the far right, the extreme far right, right? That it's speed, control, and dismantling. So those are the things that they're doing. We're watching that. You're seeing all of these things happen. Schedule F is the hammer, but chapter 1 details other critical components. I got to tell y'all about this because my time is running out and I'm trying to get through this. Listen, the Day 1 project is in chapter 1, right? It's called the Day 1 project. Let me tell you what the Day 1 project is and what it emphasizes. The Day 1 project emphasizes that the entire conservative movement must prepare now to flood the government with vetted personnel immediately upon inauguration. No learning curve. No learning curve, just throwing people in there. That's how you got Pete Hegseth. Project 2025 itself is the personnel machine. So you got people like Kristi Noem, you have people like Pete Hegseth, have no idea. You have Kash Patel, no idea what they're doing. And what they are doing is they are asserting the unitary executive. What is that? The unitary executive is it's a controversial legal theory that argues all executive power must solely reside with president. Can you imagine with this insane man? All the power rests solely within a president. Now, what happens if there is a Democrat president? A Democrat president that has this, would they do the same thing? These are the questions that I need answers to. Would we do the same thing with the Democratic president? That's the question. That's the real question. If all the sole power belongs to one person, if it all belongs to one person. So it's called asserting the unitary executive. All right. And chapter 1 strongly endorses this. It means aggressively challenging the independence of agencies. That's what they're doing. These agencies shouldn't be independent. They are independent for reasons, ladies and gentlemen, reasons that protect us. They are asserting White House control over rulemaking, potentially firing agency heads who resist, and they have already done that. And the goal is total presidential command. Only Trump is going to control it. Remember, he said, only I can do it. Only I can do it. Only I can do it. For those of you who are Christian and you vote for this, that is so biblically crazy. That's the spirit of Leviathan. Only I. That's the height of pride. So what they do is in this way, they are identifying and removing resistors. And the language is blunt. It's blunt, ladies and gentlemen. It talks about the need to root out and remove these people that they see as being disloyal, obstructive. And it's not just at the top, but it goes deep within the agencies. They are actually taking a bulldozer to these agencies. And they are centralizing power in the White House. That is so crazy. They are shifting policy development and control away from the traditional cabinet departments. They're seen as bureaucracies. They're even trying to frame these cabinet departments as bureaucracies, and they're changing it into a supercharged, a loyalist staffed executive office of the president. Everybody that is around him. Can you imagine? The Bible talks about how Ahab was more evil than the kings that came before him. If he is as diabolical now, if someone else gets in that is worse than he is, and these are the things that happen. That's how you got an Adolf Hitler. That's how you got an Idi Amin. That's how you got a Muammar Gaddafi. That's how you got a Chi Xing or whatever it is, Pi Jing, whatever his name is. That's how you got these evil people who did so much damage and hurt and harm to nations because they consolidated power. Look at Venezuela. He's talking about he calls Venezuela a rat country, a third world whole hellhole, but you're shaping yourself in the very image of the country that you try to make us hate. Folks, this is revolutionary. It's not an evolution, it's revolutionary. Chapter 1 isn't just proposing tweaks, it's advocating for a fundamental transformation of how the US government operates. The stakes cannot be higher than what they are right now. They can't be. Now, supporters of this Project 2025 hell manual, this demonically written hell manual, they say that this is the only way to break gridlock, hold the whole bureaucracy accountable, and finally deliver on conservative promises voters elected a president to fulfill. Again, I think that the election was rigged, and Donald Trump is not the duly elected president. There, I said it. He's not. Elon bought the election for him. And if you think that that relationship is repaired, it is not. Now we see Elon groveling because Elon doesn't want to lose all that money that the government contracts, and the majority of the money that he gets is from government contracts. Okay, let's talk about what critics warn. Critics warn that this is a blueprint for autocracy, and I agree 100%. It is a blueprint for an autocracy, authoritarian government, and there are terrifying risks involved, and there are terrifying risks at stake. Let's talk about it. We're talking about the loss of expertise and competence. It's replacing experienced civil servants with political loyalists, and that is going to lead to catastrophic mismanagement. Florida, we need FEMA. Can you imagine that the person that they put in charge of FEMA doesn't even know that there is a hurricane season? That's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. Terrible mismanagement. We are going to see natural disasters come, and there is going to be no help. No help. We are one of the most vulnerable states when it comes to natural disasters. Florida, California, Texas, the Midwest suffers through terrible, terrible, terrible tornado seasons. And the head of FEMA doesn't even know that there is a hurricane season. Yes, it starts June the 1st and it ends in November. We are in it right now. So what happens? They don't want things to. How do you not be aware of what's coming? How do you even prepare for what you don't know is coming? You need competent people in place. Institutional corruption is what is coming. It's going to create a massive spoil systems where jobs are rewards for loyalty, not merit. Just loyalty, not merit. That's what you're going to see. That's what you're going to see. There's going to be an erosion of checks and balances already in place. It's already happening. They're concentrating unprecedented power in the presidency. It's going to weaken Congress's oversight, and it's going to weaken the independence of agencies that were designed to protect we, the people, so that something like this would not happen. So that something like what we are seeing would not happen. It's insane. They're going to weaponize the government. They are empowering a president to purge anyone perceived as disloyal. This is going to open the door to targeting people who are whistleblowers or civil servants who enforce laws the president does not like. So, like, let's talk about environmental protections. He could care less about environmental protections. Or even career military intel officials. We've already seen that happen. We have Pete Hegseth, a whole drunk, a pure drunk running the military. A drunk running the military. It's insane. The end of nonpartisan governance. It's going to politicize the civil service in a way that could, and is probably going to, it could, but it's most likely going to damage the ability of it to function fairly and effectively. And regardless of which party wins, imagine the pendulum swinging both ways. There will never be any stability. There will never. And you talk about a banana republic and a rollback into a third world country. We would be a redeveloping. Do not think that it could never happen here, because it can. There could be a catastrophe and a catastrophic, cataclysmic something that could throw us back into the dark ages. God is blessed, but don't think that it could never happen. Chapter 1 has what is called the bottom line, and they call it hammer it. So let's be very clear about what chapter 1 is. It's talking about the reins of government. It's talking about the enemy, what they perceive as the enemy, the administrative state. That would be the permanent, unelected bureaucracy. The victim is Trump. He painted him. He's the crybaby in charge. He's unable to control his own branch as he feels, right? So the goal in chapter 1 is to give him total presidential control over the executive branch so that he can enact a conservative agenda without internal resistance. That's not good, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all gonna be walking around here with towels on your head? You think it's a joke? Those deportations are a test run. Mark my words. As we get deeper into this, you will see. The supporting tactics. Day 1 readiness. Unitary executive power. Centralizing control. The stakes, according to chapter 1, nothing less than who controls the levers of power in Washington: elected officials accountable to voters, or a permanent professional class. That's what's being set up. It's not going to be the voice of the people. It's going to be a permanent professional class of people. This chapter is the engine room of Project 2025. Hear me now. Every policy that is proposed in the following 900 and some odd pages on climate, education, health, defense, that's going to depend on the success of chapter 1. Keep these blocks coming, courts all around the country. That's why they are attacking attorneys, and that's why they are attacking judges, and that is why Pam Bondi banned the ABA. They want to put in loyalists in these lifetimes. Well, if they choose a 33-year-old person and make them a federal judge, 33 years with the expectation that they may live 70, 80 years or more. Can you imagine? I don't think that you all understand the depth of these things because you didn't pay attention in civil liberties class. You wanted to throw spitballs and bubble gum and try to pull girls around the corner. You were not paying attention. Every policy proposal in the next pages after this that is going to concern the education, it's going to concern climate, it's going to concern health. And you know that lady over the education department, she's dumb as a bag of rocks. She don't know nothing about regular people. She has no idea how they operate, how they live, they're beneath her. They're beneath her. She didn't even know who Ruby Bridges was. And that lady got wrinkles in her face like Kentucky Fried Chicken original recipe. She ought to know who Ruby Bridges is. Or she's not from this country. You can't be that dense all of your life, not know who Ruby Bridges is at her age. Anyway, understanding this, chapter 1 is the key for everything. Chapter 1 is the key. Chapter 1 is the key for understanding how Project 2025 works. It's the key. It's letting you understand the entire project. It's not just about what policies they want, but how they plan to force those through against perceived bureaucratic opposition. It's about fundamentally reshaping American governance towards a model of concentrated presidential power, and that is enabled by a politically loyal workforce. So next time, we're going to move from the theory of power to the practice of it. We're going to dive into chapter 2. Chapter 2 is the executive office of the President of the United States. How do they plan to restructure the White House itself so that it can get immense power? What new offices do they want to create? That's where we're headed. And that's what you're going to see. And that's what we're going to discuss on the next time with Rule of Law.